Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's chapter event brought to you by the HealthTree Foundation. Today's event is unique because we are hosting a joint chapter meeting. We have both the Adult AML chapter and the Myeloma Crowd Nutrition Wellness chapter here with us today. My name is Katie Braswell, and I'm the HealthTree for AML Community Director. I'm very grateful to have each of you here for our meeting today and for your support in building this HealthTree community. I'd like to let you know that today's session will be recorded, and the recording, along with any slides and resources we discussed today, will be sent via email to all registrants within 48 hours after the event has concluded. I'd like to start with a brief Zoom meeting tutorial for those who are new to using the platform. We would love for you all to keep your cameras on if you feel comfortable. Doing so helps us to create a stronger sense of community. You can see on the slide how to turn on your camera. At the bottom of your screen, you should see a microphone and camera buttons. You can click the video icon that says Start Video in order to turn your camera on. With that being said, if you're not comfortable being recorded, you are not required to keep your camera on. Your microphone should be currently off and will be kept off by our team throughout the presentation. During the group discussion at the end, you are welcome to unmute yourself at that time. If you have any questions or comments for us or for our speakers throughout their presentation, please click the chat icon and type them in the chat box. If you are using a mobile device or a tablet, click the three-dot icon that says More and then Chat in order to access the chat box. And lastly, if you would prefer to verbally ask a question or make a comment directly to our speakers during the discussion time at the end, we encourage you to do so. If you are using a laptop or desktop computer, click Reactions near the bottom of your screen and you will click Raise Hand. If you're using a mobile device or tablet, you can click the three horizontal dots that say More and then click the Raise Hand button. So now let's get started with today's event. First, I'd like to thank our sponsors, without whom this event would not be possible: Bristol Myers Squibb, Amgen, Genentech, AbbVie, and Jazz Pharmaceuticals. The topic of our event today is titled The Power of Expression in Recovery. Here's the agenda for today. I will introduce our speakers, Julie and Eileen, and they will spend the next 30 minutes or so giving us their presentation. After the presentation, we will open it up for your questions and comments and end the event with a few announcements. So let me take a second to introduce our speakers, Julie Moser and Eileen Lawton. Julie is an AML survivor and doctor of education. She has worked for more than 20 years to blend a love of education with art design. These twin passions informed Julie's work as a newspaper reporter and editor, education graphic designer and marketer, higher education faculty member, associate dean, and jewelry designer. Eileen Lawton is a certified recovery support worker. She facilitates journal writing workshops that focus on self-discovery and growth. As a certified journal to the self-instructor through the Therapeutic Writing Institute, she has designed and facilitated workshops for recovery support workers and people in recovery from substance use disorders in residential settings. Together, Julie and Eileen have created an online 8-week workshop and creativity course that's being offered for free to the HealthTree community, which they will share more about with us during their presentation today. We are so honored to have you both here with us, Julie and Eileen. You've created a resource that is so valuable to both the AML and myeloma community, and I'm so excited for you to share more about it with everyone. And so with that, I'll let you go ahead and get started.
Thank you so much, Katie. Hi, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and walk through a few slides, so bear with me. Take me just a moment. Okay, I'm going to start from the beginning. Thank you. So I'm going to move through the first few slides. Thank you, Katie, for introducing us.
Julie,
Yeah.
sorry, I want to let you know that I don't believe your slides are up where we can see them.
Okay, let me try again. There we go. I think this will do the trick. Does that work better?
There you go.
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so our goals for today, we're going to learn about the Zoom-based 8-week workshop that Katie mentioned, which is available to the HealthTree members for the AML and multiple myeloma group. We're also going to explore the benefits of journaling and creativity. We're going to play with an experience today to give you kind of a sneak peek of what the workshop might entail so that you can make a decision about whether you would like to sign up for the workshop, and you'll learn how to register for the session. And I'll just give you a bit of background about the workshop itself and how it came to be. I want to just give thanks to Katie and HealthTree for this opportunity. I actually found the HealthTree community a little bit late in my AML treatment journey. Yet I've been super thankful for the community, and I'm also thankful to be here. I spent a lot of time, as many folks probably have, in the hospital or in Nader. All of 2021 was spent that way. And I thought a lot during that time about what I wanted my world to look like after my treatment had concluded. If I made it through transplant, what was my world going to look like? And I knew that I didn't want it to go back exactly to the way things were. I'm actually lucky that I didn't want it to go back to the way things were, because my university system went through a merger and my position was eliminated while I was in the hospital. So, that gave me a little bit of a catalyst to think even harder about, what I wanted to fill my life with. And I knew that education in the arts still really called to me. And one dream I had was to finish a creativity workshop that I'd been working on for people. And I reached out to a friend, and she connected me with my new friend, Eileen, and colleague, who's a certified journal to the self instructor. And she connected us both to a grant. And that grant allowed us to develop a curriculum and provide a few free workshops. And it's because of her and HealthTree that we're able to offer this opportunity. And the details about the summer workshop are on the slide here. You can see what the description is. And we're going to do kind of a sample activity, as I mentioned, so that you can see if it's something you want to sign up for. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Eileen briefly to talk a bit about agreements and the benefits of journaling.
Thank you, Julie. I'm really excited to be here. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As you may know, the benefits of journaling have become well known thanks to a lot of research recently in the field. I'm sure many of you have journaled in the past or currently journal, which is wonderful. And if you haven't, don't worry. There's really no wrong way to do it. We welcome everyone. These studies have shown that expressive writing, that is writing about your thoughts and feelings, produce long-lasting benefits to our physical and emotional health. Some of the ways it helps us is journaling actually can reduce fatigue, help us sleep better. It helps us identify the positive situations in our lives. It helps us realize what we can control and how we want to move forward in those areas. And it also helps us find peace and maybe heal some of our relationships. It's true there's no wrong way to journal, but thanks to the Therapeutic Writing Institute, where I've been a student for about 3 years, I've learned a lot of really effective techniques that help us tap into our wisdom and intuition. So I would love to share some of those with you. And this course we created uses poetry and art to let us, tap into our thoughts a little further, to inspire us. So tonight we're going to look at a particular poem, and we're going to do a form of gratitude journaling. So that slide is just another summary of, recent research in the field. Oh, the agreements. Okay, so whenever we have a group, of course, we start off with how we want to be treated, how we want to feel safe in the group. So these are some of the themes that we touch on. These aren't actual agreements, but just to let you know, we are very purposeful in creating a safe environment. So confidentiality, of course, is, number one. And so today we have a group right here for the next hour. So whatever is said here, I know we're being recorded, so I guess it doesn't really work, but commitment to the group, honesty, the acceptance of yourself, respect, empathy for others, and support. So, and we'll be asking the group members what they want to create as agreements. So we'll do them together.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk briefly just about a little bit of background about the art and science of doodling. And so when we think about creativity or visual arts, it's really just a different way of making our thoughts and feelings visible. And I love this image to the left because it talks about, doodling as science, and it uses the visual to kind of actually demonstrate some of the interesting ways that you can express things that are, maybe better expressed or differently expressed through a visual approach. There are many known benefits for health and wellness. Doodling can, help, reduce distorted thinking, defensiveness. It can also increase some insights that you might have, overcoming denial and shame. There are a lot of feelings, a whole lot of feelings when people have blood cancer and are going through whatever journey they're on. And so being able to find different ways to express those feelings is really critical, no matter where you are. I know for me, I didn't process a lot while I was fighting. And so I had spent my time very therapeutic to be able to unpack some things that had been sitting with me, but had been put to the side because I was fighting. There's when we developed this curriculum, we really wanted to use the creativity approach, and there's a whole field of science behind creativity. And one of the things that is really critical to a creativity approach is that there are no quote unquote mistakes, or even if there are, those mistakes are opportunities where we can gain insight from. So we really try to set aside our inner critics, try to remove our own internal barriers that we might have, and play. And we also know from the research that doodling can stimulate dopamine, it can help us enhance our mood, motivation, and emotional responses. And those are all things that I have definitely needed during this journey. And so at this point, if you have a piece of paper and a pencil or pen, you don't need anything fancy. It would be good to kind of get that out and have it ready. I'm going to move on to the next slide here. And I'm going to turn it over to Eileen. And Eileen is going to share a brief activity for the night. I am going to let her guide us. As Katie mentioned, we'll be available for questions after. But with that, I am going to turn it over to Eileen. And thank you, Eileen, for taking us through this activity.
Okay, thanks, Julie. So as I mentioned, this is a form of gratitude journaling. So to inspire us as we think about objects we are grateful for, we're going to think about objects in our lives that bring us joy or help us in whatever ways or that we really appreciate. So to get us started on this idea, we're going to read a poem of appreciation about bedroom slippers. So this is an ode to my bedroom slippers by Margaret Faith. I'm just going to read it to you. They wait patiently beside my bed, agreeable twin sentries, ready for duty. They know me so well, the darkened imprint of heels and each toe worn into the balding fleece. They are the first thing my feet search for in the morning, grounding and protection from my midnight shuffles to the loo. They are the comfort I seek when I return from the day's labors, the ones I turn to as I cast off heels, polished leather, buckles, and laces. They carry the stains and flaws of familiarity, a splash of iced coffee, a drip of toothpaste, the teething marks of a puppy now grown. They have logged hundreds of miles, but rarely leave home. These slippers of mine, once I forgot and wore them to choir practice. I sang well that night. Okay, so there we have our ode, our poem of appreciation for bedroom slippers. So now we're going to think about those objects, and I'm going to ask you to number your page 1 through 20. And the reason we number first is so it doesn't interrupt your flow. You don't have to stop and number the line each time. So 1 through 20, and at the top, if you could just write objects I love or objects I appreciate. And then once everyone is set up, we'll just give you about 5 minutes or so to make your list, and try not to self-edit, try to write really quickly so you don't let that inner critic say, why are you writing that down? That's silly. Just keep on going. There's no mistakes here. I can't see everyone, so when you're ready, you can just start. After you have your page numbered, objects you appreciate. So if you made it to 20, that's wonderful. If not, no worries. Now look over your list. If we were doing a full session, we would call out, I'd have you call out a bunch of them so you would inspire others and get more ideas, but we have kind of a condensed version tonight. So if you just want to look over what you have and choose your favorite one. Which one do you feel like you have a lot of thoughts and ideas about? So you could maybe compose an ode yourself. And don't worry, we're going to give you some very specific prompts to help you write your ode. So just choose your object. And then on the next page, you could give your title and ode to whatever you're going to write about. And here's some prompts for you. If you like them, feel free to use them. If you want to do your own thing, that is totally fine. So what does your favorite object look like? You know, you want to describe it as specifically as you can, just like the bedroom slippers, you know, with the toothpaste and the chew marks from the dog. What does it feel like? If it has a smell, taste like, sound like, really try to use your senses to describe your object. Explain how you use it. What does it do for you? Why is it so special? Why could you not live without it? If it could speak, what might it say to you? And what would you like to say to your beloved object? Now, I often have people say, I can't write a poem, but if you just think about phrases, right? Just put some phrases on the page, and I think you'll enjoy the result. I just read this great line recently that said, creativity is an emergency response to stress. So creativity brings us a lot of joy. So just give yourself permission to have fun with this. I'm going to put about 5 minutes on my clock.
Eileen, I have a question here in the chat, which might not be best to wait till the end. It might help with the activity a bit. And someone's asking if a person can be an object.
If you want to do a person, you can do a person. Absolutely.
Happy birthday to the Queen.
There's about a minute left, so just start to wrap up your thoughts. After we do a piece of writing like this, I would have you do a feedback loop, which is just to have you read it over and then put your thoughts about, as I read this, I noticed, or as I read this, I became aware, or I was surprised by, or what the process was like. If you just want to give your poem a quick read and give yourself one sentence at the bottom.
And
And at this point, if we were in a group, in one of our classes, we would open it up to sharing. So sharing is optional, always optional. It's totally your choice. You never have to share. It's encouraged because it really, connects us to others in the group. You get to hear other people's wisdom and ideas and creativity, and it's really nice. But we have an abbreviated group tonight, so we won't do that. And I apologize. We would also have you sketch. So Julie's going to explain that right now. I would have done it after you made your list probably, or given you the choice to sketch or write. But I get so focused on the writing, sometimes I forget the sketching, but I'll get there. So go ahead, Jules.
It's okay. I think actually having a poem in front of me it will help with this. So remember how earlier we talked about that sketching is just another way to kind of get in touch with your feelings and thoughts. And so if you think about the object that you chose, and especially in light of your poem, if you had to spend a few minutes doodling your object, what might that look like? And so I encourage you to just go ahead somewhere on your paper, wherever it feels right for you, to go ahead and just doodle your object and see what turns out. So as you're doodling, feel free to keep doodling if you are in the middle of bringing your object to life visually. I'll just so you can get an example of the type of sharing. I'm going to go ahead and share out the poem that I wrote, and I'll share my little sketch. The object that I chose from my list was my baby toothbrush. So I wrote an ode to my baby toothbrush, and it goes like this. It goes, "Oh, dearest baby toothbrush, so soft and gentle. You keep me and my dentist happy as the chemotherapy wreaks havoc in my mouth. Your tiny, nimble bristles help me prevent dry mouth and avoid more cases of mucositis and thrush. Oh, to be so gentle yet powerful in the face of so much change is a gift." And that's what came out of me. And I had absolutely no idea that was going to come out of me tonight. I actually haven't given my baby toothbrush any thought for a long time. I've kind of naturalized it as just, this is something I do every day. And I realized that, yeah, it's still a really important part of my self-care in this journey. And it's a really important part. I did a little sketch, and you can see that let's see if I can find a way to do this. So my sketch shows my toothbrush. It doesn't really have bristles. It's more kind of like soft. It's more soft because for those of us who have used a baby toothbrush, it almost feels like it's not even in there, but it is an important part of this process. So that's kind of an example of the type of reflection. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. That was great. All right, are we at the point where we can take any questions, or I think we used up our half an hour? Here's the link to the class. It's going to run from July 13th to August 31st from 6 to 8 on Zoom.
And I'll make sure that I include this link to everybody who registered in our follow-up email that includes the slides and any resources we discussed, and definitely the link to register for the workshop. So thank you so much for that. That was excellent. I loved the activity. For me, it was interesting walking through it. I really pulled out objects that were small. When you think of objects that are important to you, you pick the big ones, like your car and your house and big things like that. But smaller things came across my mind and really helped me to be more grateful for them. So that was really powerful. And as I was sitting here, I was kind of wondering what everybody else chose. So if you feel inclined to put it in the chat, I would love to see, out of my own curiosity and maybe some others, what objects everybody chose. But really great, Julie, to be able to do that on the fly. I envy that, and something I definitely need to practice. So thank you for sharing yours.
Thank you.
I have some things coming through in the chat, and I've had a request from Steve to maybe unmute himself and come on and make a question or comment. So I'll let you go ahead and do that, Steve.
All right, thank you, Katie. This was a really well done short course in expressive journal writing, which, as you said, it's pretty well known. But I'm wondering if you would consider a kind of a complementary process as well. During AML treatment, I started writing email reports to keep a lot of people informed at once. And I realized as I told my story, writing for an audience forced me to fully make sense of my experience in a way I otherwise probably would not. And this cognitive comprehension became more important to me even than the emotional processing. And later I found the work of somebody named Arthur Frank. He's written a lot about how telling our story maintains our identity while undergoing medical treatment. I even found some research that compared writing by transplant survivors of 4 types: people who did expressive writing, people who did peer writing, offering advice to others, people who did neutral writing, just the facts, and people who did expressive writing followed by peer writing. And they found significant benefits only for the last group. They had reduced psychological distress, improved physical symptoms, quality of life. And so I've incorporated that in a writing workshop I do at our local Gildas Club, this two-stage process: expressive writing, then peer helping writing. It seems like it repositions the writer as someone who's acquired some wisdom that they have to impart. And that's kind of inherently empowering. I'm just curious if you considered anything like that approach to complement the expressive writing that you're offering in this workshop. Thanks.
Right. Thank you for that question, Steve. That's great. That's really interesting to think about putting it out there for an audience, your expressive writing. I haven't done it that way. We've just kind of, I guess, the sharing part is as far as we go with that in the group, the idea of sharing it. But I mean, I have experimented with different ways to, reduce trauma by writing your story in the third person. I don't know if you've ever done that, or writing about it for 4 days in a row. James Pennebaker has a big researcher in the field, has this technique where if you write about your trauma or any emotional upheaval for 4 days in a row, 30 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, sorry, it lessens its impact. Or writing about your story in the third person, so you're removed a little bit from the expression. So, but thank you for that. I will definitely, you said Arthur Schrenk?
Arthur Frank.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, he wrote a book called The Wounded Storyteller.
Oh.
But what struck me in this workshop I do is, even if I say to people, just imagine you're writing for an audience. You don't even have to have one. So just what advice would you convey to other people? It just seems to give people a more control or more of a sense of power over what they've learned, because they have wisdom now to pass on.
Right.
And that seems pretty powerful. So
Yeah.
just food for thought. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I can understand
Yeah.
that perspective.
That's a great idea, Steve. One thing we do is at the end of the session is we have our participants write cards to one another. And so that's an opportunity to share that wisdom and that peer support, and also continue to build the community, that we do build in the curriculums. But I've written down the name of that person too. It's a great one. Thank you. And also thank you for your presentation. I appreciated the one that you gave a couple months ago.
I have a question here that's come up in the chat from Suzanne. She's asking, are you familiar with Zentangle and or neurographic art?
Zentangle I love, and is definitely on the list of activities that are really important for creativity and all of that. I am not familiar with the second one. I am very interested to learn more about that one.
Great. Another question here about the workshop. Are there any special items needed to participate in the 8-week session?
Actually, there are, however, we will send them to you. So all participants will get a creativity pack that we've put together. So you won't need to purchase anything. And you may have some of the supplies in your house as well, but we like to just set things off and give everybody the same creativity pack at the outset.
And did we say, maybe I missed it, did we say when the course is going to be starting and ending?
July 13th, it starts. It's Wednesday nights through August 31st from 6 to 8 p.m.
Great, great. I'm seeing lots of items here in the chat, all of really are which awesome ones. Some I would have never even thought about. Tea mug was definitely on my list as I sat here and drank my herbal tea. And I had a hair tie. Someone else I see had a tie-dyed headband, which is pretty cool. Let me keep scrolling here. Lots of good items. Someone's just plugging the multiple myeloma Facebook group, which seems to be very helpful in realizing I'm not alone and can ask questions. And we have plenty of myeloma Facebook groups. We also have some AML Facebook groups that we're building up to for for both of our chapters here. Lee's saying, I write about my husband's treatment sessions on the Caring Bridge website and find it very therapeutic. We'll look up Arthur Frank. So thank you for the suggestion, Steve. Let's see, let me get caught up. Will you record sessions? May have to miss 1 or 2 with summer travel.
Mhm. We don't record them, and it's perfectly fine if you could just let us know if you won't be there.
Okay, great. Jeff is asking, he joined us late and asking if there's a recording for this session that will be out. And yes, Jeff, I will send that to everyone who's registered. Registration information, please. It looks like Julie put the link in there for everybody. And again, that will be going out. I'll probably send it out tomorrow morning to everybody again. Let's see, lovely figuring of a deer that belonged to my mother. That's a great object. And another thank you. So any other questions or comments for Julie or Eileen today? Anybody want to come off mute and give us your ode or ask anything else to the group? One more thing came up in the chat. I'm not good at sharing. Would this course be a waste of my time? What do you guys think?
No.
Yeah, I would say no. Yeah.
I think if you like to listen to others, I think that would be fine. There's no pressure.
So participation is welcome without having to come on and verbalize what you're doing.
Yeah, it's optional. So, as long as you can participate in the activities, if you're not into sharing, that's totally fine.
Okay, great. Is the session 6 to 8 Eastern?
Yes.
Yes, 6 to 8 Eastern time. Very good. All right, anything else before we wrap up, everybody? Thank you for being here today. If not, I don't see any hands raised, so I'll wrap up with a few announcements. So for those of you in our adult AML chapter, our next meeting will take place on May 5th from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. We have Dr. Margaret Kastner. She's an AML expert from the Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. She will join us to teach us how to better understand our AML labs and bone marrow biopsy results with plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So you can find the registration page for this event and other AML events by visiting healthtree.org/AML/community/events. And for those of you in our myeloma crowd nutrition and wellness chapter, your next chapter meeting will take place on May 25th from 7 to 8 Eastern. Randy Schwartz, who's a myeloma patient and certified holistic health coach, will be speaking on the topic of mindful eating. So you can find the registration page for this event and other myeloma crowd events by visiting myelomacrowd.org/myeloma/community/events. And once again, thank you to our HealthTree event sponsors, Bristol Myers Squibb, Amgen, Genentech, AbbVie, and Jazz Pharmaceuticals. And thank you for helping us to build a strong HealthTree community. I appreciate you all for being here this evening. I can't wait to see each of you again at our next event. And hopefully you'll be seeing Julie and Eileen in their workshop. So thank you all for being here.